be me, it's what you see in my energy. I'm real with myself, I don't conform to society. I'm free to be me, it's the only way for me to stay true to my identity. I'm free to be me, I'm a person of integrity, something that's not recognized in society. I'm free to be me, it's the only way for me. It's the key to my serenity, conform to social norm. I'm doing me, I'm working to become the best version I can be, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Don't you see, it's the recipe to live happily, joyfully, peacefully. I live with myself, I deal with myself, I'm real with myself. Don't worry about nobody else. So don't you see I'm okay with me? It's what you see in my energy. It's not about popularity. Yeah, cause I'm free to be me. It's what you see in my energy. I'm real with myself, I don't conform to society. I'm free to be me, it's the only way for me. It's the key to my serenity. I'm free to be me, I'm a person of integrity, something that's not recognized in society. I'm free to be me, it's the only way for me. It's the key to my serenity. I'm a person of integrity, something that's not recognized in society. I'm free to be me, it's the only way for me to stay true to my identity. I'm free to be me, yeah, cause I'm free to be me, yeah, cause I'm free to be me. Hey, hey, it's the key to my identity. I'm free to be me, it's what you see in my energy. I'm real with myself, I don't
What's going on, you guys? This is your girl, Bougiewild, and I'm coming to you live in full effect on Transparent Table Talk, another episode. I want to thank you all so much for joining me. Transparent Table Talk is a place where we talk about life from a humble, transparent, and vulnerable place. Tonight, you guys, we got a little background noise in on the show. It's because I'm here in Memphis with Harmony. She is at the Orpheum. She's doing a workshop tonight. So I got to stay in the city. I cannot allow my baby to come into Memphis on her own and leave out at 10:15. So I decided to stay in the city because as all of you all are aware, I live in the country. I don't live in the city. So let's get into the show because I want to allow the guest tonight to speak on this platform. Make sure you all are following Bougie Wild on Instagram and Facebook, and check out bougiewild.com for all of the Bougie Wild gear. Let's introduce our guest. We have Marie Adell here on the show tonight. Marie is a passionate children and family advocate teacher of over 20 years and human design family practitioner. Her main drive in life is to guide visionary moms to create a deeper quality connection with their families without in the moment mistakes. utilizing extrasensory parenting and human design. I pronounced it wrong, sensory. She is a parent to one very awesome 9-year old, wife to a creative, and has two dogsters. Let's introduce Marie.
Hi.
Hey, Marie.
I'm so good. How are you?
Thank you. Hey, I'm doing great. I'm happy. It's Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's
I
Day.
know. Happy Valentine's Day.
Yes, yes. So, Marie, let's get on into the show. Thank you so much for being a guest on Transparent Table Talk. Y'all know this is a place where we talk about life from a humble, transparent, and vulnerable place. So, Marie, what brought you to Transparent Table Talk?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm out there in the internet community. I talk to a lot of different people, and I was in a group, and I saw that you had posted like, "Hey, come and talk with me on my podcast." And I don't reply to everyone. Like, I don't. I'm not. I'm very like selective about who I pick. And I was like, like this reminds me a little bit of like Red Table Talk. This reminds me of, things that people don't do. Like, this is non-conforming. That sounds like me. I think I will ask to be on the podcast. So that's how I came here.
Awesome, awesome. And as our listeners are aware, we don't select the topics that we discuss on Transparent Table Talk. We allow the guests to pick the topic because we've created this platform for people to come and discuss those things that are not ordinarily discussed in everyday conversation. So, what's that topic we're gonna discuss today?
Yeah. So I titled this "What's Love Got to Do with It?" Right, and I thought that was like perfect for Valentine's Day. It was like perfect for the topic that I'm going to discuss, and it's around the big D word, divorce. And I am the type of person that you would look at me and you would think like, oh, she's got her stuff together. I almost said a different word. She's got her stuff together, and she looks like so like just mild mannered, like Clark Kent. Like that's couldn't be further from the truth. I'm a person just like anyone else, and there's a lot of guilt, a lot of blame, a lot of shame, that comes around that word divorce, even in this day and age when, 50% of people are doing it. And at the same time, I did it in a bubble, and it was a very big bubble. And there was a lot of things that I felt were nobody's business at the time that now I'm like, yeah, hey, like these are things to talk about because we do put so much pressure on people in relationships, and people are people. We're not perfect, right? So, what something looks like from the outside isn't necessarily what's going on the inside.
I call that being impressive on the outside, but oppressed behind closed doors. And it's something that we've been conditioned to do. It's a way of life. It's like the norm, right? It's the norm. You don't tell your business. Don't let nobody know what's going on in your house. Meanwhile, we're struggling with the little voice in our head that nobody hears that I'm talking about because nobody talks about that little voice. So again, I stand on our truth sets us free because once we release it, it's like the rain. It's the wind. We have to release things because when we keep them inside, we're dealing with shame and blame. That voice gets bigger, right? Because I don't want to tell nobody.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you so much for bringing this topic. I know it's the perfect topic on Valentine's. I'm excited. So, um, Let's dig into why did you pick What's Love Got to Do with It? Like, that's so powerful. You know, Tina Turner. And tonight, the show, my daughter's at the Orpheum here in Memphis, and they're opening the show tonight. Tina Turner. And y'all know Tina Turner.
Yeah,
What's Love Got to Do?
there's no coincidences. So, yeah. So, I mean, I think when you're going through something like that, when you're going through something that makes you kind of question like who you are and what reality really was, what reality really is, it can be so challenging. And, for me being that very private kind of person where, yes, there's problems, but I don't talk about my problems to other people. Like, what problems, right? And so being able to really see the situation for what it was, feel all the shame that came with it because I wasn't willing to talk about what was happening at the time. Yet my ex in the situation was. And so everybody was getting one side of the story. And it was just one of those things that was kind of like, well, but it's nobody's business. Like, why are they all interested in this thing? Because there's dynamics in relationships that people don't really like. They don't know all the nuances. They don't understand all of the things, and they just look at what it looks like from the outside. And what it boiled down to, what's love got to do with it, is how was I loving myself? How was I treating myself in that situation? And, how was I really figuring out where I fit in and thinking about me rather than thinking about that other person and trying to protect that situation when clearly that was not what was happening for me, what was not being returned, right? Like, I'm thinking we have a child, we need to, make sure that we're keeping this between us and, what's going on. But that was not the case. And so then to have other people coming up to me or other people talking behind my back about what was going on, people that I thought were friends, all these different kinds of things. And then feeling all this shame around it as if I was the one who had done everything wrong, like that I was the pariah, the social whatever, like, I was the terrible person. And when in reality, like, there is no terrible person in the situation. It's two human beings that, are simply not fit for that relationship anymore. And at the same time, like, I was not taking care of myself during that time. I was not loving me. And so I think, when you're in a situation like that, being able to step back and take care of you requires an extra kind of awareness. And, for me, it was just, it took a couple years. It took a couple years for that to happen and to even be able to share, what happened. We were living in a foreign country at the time. And, it was a very small international community. Everybody knew what was going on in everybody's business. Everybody wanted to take sides, so it was just a very crazy situation. And, just continued when we came back stateside, and I had to do a lot of hard looking at myself and really, looking at the situation and owning up to my part in it. And at the same time, really, truly learning how to forgive myself, forgive what happened, all of the things. And so love has a lot to do with it. Love has a lot to do with it. Really looking at yourself and, how you're taking care of yourself in that situation. And when you take care of you, the rest will be taken care of.
That is so true. This month, I'm talking about self love, and that's what the whole brand Bougiewild is centered around. It's all about recognizing who we are, and like you said, taking that hard look at self. Because when we are in relationships, you have to be accountable. You have to be accountable for what you allow as well. And that's what I heard from you is that I had to take accountability from what I allow and how we got to this point. In addition, we in addition, we also have to realize and recognize society and how society does us when we go through things. That's what made me transparent. When you talked about, they were talking about me and they were doing this, well, you know what? I started telling my business so you can stop talking about me, so you can understand that I know you know, but what you won't do is make me feel shame, or I won't live in the blame from that perspective about it. And so that's the reason why I became transparent. And I remember when a young lady, she was like, I didn't understand what you meant when you were saying you were transparent. Because you know how we be in those social circles and we have that one friend we're telling everybody, and that one friend may be the common friend of everybody.
Yeah.
So everybody's going to confide in that one friend, but that one friend is telling everybody's business, right? That one friend is telling everybody. And so I started noticing, I said, if she's talking about them, that means she's talking about me. So when we were all get together because we were all married, I started telling me and my husband's business in the open setting. Like, girl, we went through this and we're going through it. And come to find out, it was therapy because I created this environment where everybody felt comfortable. So we no longer was sitting in shame. We were all going through the same thing and started having couples night as a result. Or we started having couples. And so when my husband, because I went through a divorce in 2019, you said that um, the transition, it's been very hard for me. Like, I see people who've gone through a divorce in 2019 and already in relationships. I'm still not in a relationship. Like, I'm still by myself. I'm like, I need to have that on transparency about somebody need to help me understand how y'all do this. 'Cause I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's me. I mean, I'm just open minded to receive it, but I'm just saying that that transition is very hard for me. It's
Yeah.
very hard for me. It's very hard. So, like you said, that self love. Tell me some of those things that you had to start doing for self. Though that mindset. Paint a picture for us. What does self love look like?
Yeah. Self love is one of those things that like people say that word, but until you actually like feel that word in like your DNA, like you really don't know what it is. And it's always continually evolving too. So, for me, that looked like getting very serious about spirituality. I hadn't been serious about spirituality in a really long time. And about what spirituality looked like for me, and what I really wanted to do with my life, right? So like I've been a teacher for over 20 years, and that pandemic hit, and just like so many others, I'm like, what am I doing? What do I really want to do? And I love working with families. I love working with the kids. And at the same time, I knew that I had been through some stuff, and that my journey in that, like, I went to therapy for a while. I started practicing yoga in like a yoga lifestyle. I was taking care of my body, being a good steward for nutrition wise, meditating, that whole mindfulness piece of it. And, really creating that spaciousness within me to be able to even listen to who I was and what I wanted. Because up until that point in time, I felt like I was doing what everyone else wanted me to do and being what everyone else wanted me to be. Like I didn't really have an identity outside of, wife, teacher, daughter, like all those kinds of things. It was like, who was Marie, right? And just really creating, because that's what the breath work is for. That's what the meditation is for. That's what those mindfulness things are for, is to create the space in between the thoughts. Because my mind was just going all the time. And it was difficult at night to like lay down and get proper rest because my mind was going all the time. So really being able to quiet my mind and have the spaciousness in between those thoughts so that I could hear what my inner self was telling me to create next. And so, like, that's what I love to do. That's what I love to help moms with, is to get in touch with themselves, like who they truly are without everything else, what they want, not what, our kids want all the time, what our spouses need from us, what, our siblings need from us, our family, our, jobs, like all of those things, to really get inside and know who we are. And so I picked up things like human design and, like from the time that I've been teaching, I've been learning all about like neuroscience and how the brain works, and really helping to help my kids learn in different ways. And I turn that into being able to look in at the inner workings of my subconscious and rewrite some of those pathways that I had that were no longer serving me, and rewrite my future by stepping into my future, So having that vision, but it comes from cultivating that silence, that spaciousness within, so that I can listen to that inner creator that I always have been. It's always there. I just wasn't tapping into it before.
When I say since starting this show, I've met so many like-minded people. As like you, the pandemic had me to take a deep look into myself. I quit my job for 20 years. I quit my job because I realized, oh my God, I'm doing this out of survival. This is not who I am. Marie, I am a teenage mom, a high school dropout. I had two children by the time I was 17 years old. I've been on my own since I was 15 years old. I entered the world of survival. I did what society told me to do. Go get the education, go get the nice house, go get the husband, because for one, I was dealing with the shame and the blame of becoming a teenage mom. So I was so busy um, wanting to reach what society defined as success, right? So I did success according to society, and I still was not feeling. So during COVID was that time where, like you said, the little voice in your head that keep on racing and the energy could not be erased. Like I have to go work out. I have to like I have this racing energy to where I have to work out. I
Yeah.
have to tire myself out to where when I go to bed, I'm gone.
Yeah.
So I can relate to you on that. But what I want to say is, since I have tapped into that spiritual connection
Yeah.
and realizing who I am, like going back to that little girl, recognizing who I am and what I had to do for myself, filling myself up, did my life start coming together.
Yeah.
And transparent table talk was one of those things that the Holy Spirit gave me because I was like, there are other people out there like me. You said about making that shift. That shift, I lost a lot of people. I had to take that time for myself, and it wasn't about me being angry or anything, but I had to realize, imagine becoming a mom at 15. I never got to know who I was. And
Right.
so, you know, having this experience and this life I lived, when I had my revelation, the only thing that helped me through this revelation is talking about it. It's telling people about it. It's creating transparent table talk. It's going out in the world talking to people about this conversation that nobody really want to have. That
Yeah.
we don't even know who we are. We don't even know that the spirit is in us, through us, as us. We, like you said, you have to rewrite it. We don't even know that we are creators.
Yeah.
We're living from that subconscious place of that conditioning. We're living from that place of what we were conformed to do. And that's the reason why our mind is racing. That's the reason why our energy is off. That's the reason why we're dealing with this empty feeling that's within us. And we don't know what's going on, what's going on. And so we go out and we try to fill it with all of the outside world where it's people, whether it's drugs, alcohol, whether it's a shopping addiction, sex, whatever it is,
Yeah.
seeking validation, fear of rejection, because we don't know who we are. Like, and when I tell you, I don't care what the topic is, this is what we end up talking about.
Mm-hmm.
This is what the people who signed up to come talk to me, this is what y'all saying.
Yeah.
And I realize I'm not alone. I know that there's a world out here that we understand now who we are and we're ready. We're done with the social norm. We're done with you putting me in a box and being this particular way and living this particular way because it has me suffering. It has me suffering in silence because I'm really not expressing who I truly am.
Yes.
Like that's
Yes. Yeah. And it's, I mean, we are now entering like this phase of time with the planets of the universe, the energy that the planets are giving us. And it's one of those things that like I was always attracted to horoscopes when I was a kid. I just like to read them in the newspaper, like different things like that, but like never really paid attention to the energy around that, the science behind it. And now I've done so much research around the science around the energy of the planets. And like I'm a super logical person, like super big nerd, all the things. And I have really been studying the planets. And this year is the year. This is like the catalyst year for us, for the planets. And it is saying like all the seeds that y'all have been sowing for the last like few years that you've been planting in, now is the time that we're going to start sowing them. And we're going to be watering them, we're going to be growing them, and all the things that you have been putting in, this is the year. This is when it's going to happen. And so, as we are moving into starting to see like the fruits of our labor over the last few years, it's full speed forward. And there's this massive shift that's happening in the universe too, where like we have masculine energy and we have feminine energy. And for a long time we've had this major, massive, get shit done energy, masculine going, for centuries. And now it's time for feminine energy to come back in and be part of that too, in that wonderful, beautiful harmony of that yin yang. And, we're stepping back into that and we're saying, we're not going to hide anymore. We're not going to have that bravado. It's okay to be soft. It's okay to be feminine. It's okay to show that love for yourself. It's okay to say who we are. And this is what we're moving into. And I just keep seeing more and more people that are talking about this because this is the direction that humanity is headed in. And we're at the forefront of it. We're at the beginning of it. So we get to pave that way.
Yeah, let me just say this. I got to make this disclaimer, this disclosure. Changing the table talk is a little different. I don't talk to the guests until the day of. I don't like to have the conversation with the guests because I like our conversations to be authentic. I don't prep them. Um, as to what to say or anything like that because I'm out here in the universe and I'm a true believer as well. I'm a connected. We are all connected. We realize it. We are all connected.
Mhm.
So I'm sitting here smiling because to hear the things that you are discussing, like I'm on that same frequency, and I describe that if the frequency is 98.5 and that's what we get in the music, that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
And I feel you, like the things you're speaking, I can relate to because once you tap into it and you come out of the world, you get explode. But you at first it's like the resistance is there and we are afraid to let go of the physical being, and the physical being is what was conditioned in us, what was defaulted in us based on the environment, the experience, the exposure. As children, you made your friends, right? Because that's the community you were living in,
Mhm.
and all of those things were conditioned in you. But once you realize and recognize who you understand that you have the right to own who you are and stand in that place. So
Mhm.
we have the fear of being by ourselves, but when you really look around, you're not by yourself because now you're surrounded with like-minded people, right? It's nothing like having a conversation with someone that understands you rather than being combative with someone.
Yeah.
And that's what I do. I stepped out in the world and I put out in the world where I am. Like a lot of people tried to shut me up and talking from a humble trip. You don't need to talk about that. You bring it up. No, we should be able to be true with who we are without fear of rejection or the need to fit in. And so when I hear the guests on the show discussing the spiritual journey, talking about the shift and the alignment, and to know that I found myself at a place at a time where I felt like I had lost everybody. Like, oh my God, I'm by myself. I don't have anybody in my spirit. Nobody understands me. I'm misunderstood. And the Holy Spirit said, "Okay, Yolanda, are you gonna trust the Holy Spirit? Are you gonna allow this shift to happen?" And now I'm having this conversation with Marie. Marie, where are you from? Where are you located?
I'm in Michigan.
Okay, awesome, awesome. I like to disclose where my guests are because Bougiewild, look, this whole brand was created from people criticizing me. I didn't come up with this, right? Like you said, being a school teacher, you hear children putting labels on, and
Yeah.
children become adults, right? And the reality is based on our personality. Some of us never change, and some things never change.
Yeah.
And what we don't discuss enough is adults get labeled too. Adults, we get labeled too. So now I wear Bougie Wild proudly because it means don't put me in no box. I'm free to be me. And that's one of the songs I wrote and recorded in the intro was like, I'm free to be me. What you
Yes.
see in my energy. I'm back like a child. Because the Bible said to enter heaven is to go back to being like a child.
Yeah, we get to have that playful side. We get to,
Yeah.
I mean, that's when we were the most pure, right? Like we're pure as children and we come in and you know, we I'm a believer that, we ask for the parents that we get. We ask for the life that we get. And we ask for it because this is what we need in this lifetime for our soul to be able to grow and for us to learn what we need to learn on our journey. And so, like, even though, we have things that happen in life, I feel like we asked for those things. Like, this was something that was either going to push us forward in this lifetime, help us to grow, or it keeps us in the same place because some people die without really growing, and so to accept that mission, to have that courage to look at where you're at and to face it and to want to increase that frequency that you're putting out, it takes so much courage to do that. And that's why I feel like we're at such an important point right now in history, really. Like, we have that opportunity to take that. And I feel like people like you, people like me, we're meant to be those way showers. And it can feel a little lonely at times. And at the same time, the more that we talk about it, the more people that we have join us, the more people are going to feel that frequency, and the more they're going to be like, wow, maybe I want some of that too. It just reminds me of that in like Finding Nemo, Crush. He's in that wave. So get in there, get in the current, right? Like, get in the current, flow with it. And it might be scary at first. Then once you get in there and you're in that flow, like, it in your bones that this is what it's supposed to be like.
And what you're saying is that we have to address our fears, doubts, and insecurities because that's what shifted me forward is understanding that we all have fears, doubts, and insecurities, and we have to address them without fear of rejection or the need to fit in. So I mean, I am so there with you on this wave. I am so there with you. And it's refreshing. It's refreshing to have a conversation with someone that receive and listen. And I mean, you're feeding me. Like, you're feeding my spirit. You're letting me know that what the Holy Spirit is, how the Holy Spirit is leading me. I'm walking on the right path.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's important that we find each other, and it's important that we populate and that we share with others. Like, we really are one mind. Everyone is. We are. Whatever I'm feeling from someone else, whatever I'm thinking about someone else, gives me insight into what's going on inside of me. And I can utilize that to either stay in fear, which is one side of emotion, or I can choose love and I can move forward in love. There's two emotions that exist, really, like two emotions, because everything that is a vibration that doesn't feel good comes from fear. Like, when we're angry at somebody, comes from fear. Like, we're afraid we might be rejected. We're afraid that someone won't like us. We're afraid that what we're doing isn't the right thing. We're going to be expelled from the pack. Like, people won't want us. So all of those things, the sadness and the sorrow and all of that comes from fear, like that people won't see us for who we truly are. And then we have love that brings us joy, and that brings us, happiness beyond happiness, bliss. And, to be able to really operate from that is all that there is. Spirit is love, right? Like, that is the highest vibration that we could possibly move into. And so that's love. That's what love has to do with it. That's what love's got to do with it, right? Like, it's everything. It infuses everything in our life. And if we're able to lead from love instead of fear, we create so much for ourselves and for others.
That is great advice. And like you said, it starts with self love because whatever you feel with is what you're gonna project on others. And that's what I discovered. And that's a principle I apply in life is that, you know, you can only give me, Marie, what you're feeling. So if you feel the fear, that's what you're gonna give me. It doesn't have anything to do with me. I actually see, like, oh my God, I can see spirits now. I can see what that energy looks like. because once you tap into it and understand, like you said, there's only love and fear. And I defined it, like I said, it's really having that conversation because I said it's fear, doubt, and insecurity. Fear, doubt, and insecurity create chaos, discord, conflict, irritation, aggravation, frustration, jealousy, condemnation. It's just all of that and combined because of these low energies. And it's basically deciding which energy are you going to operate from, right? And just having that conversation with someone to understand that whether we have fear or love, which one are we going to feed? Because we could feed fear or we can feed love. That's what's going to grow.
Yeah.
So if we are practicing self love, then we're going to understand the importance of having healthy relationships, the importance of denying yourself of things that's good to you but not good for you. Taking care of your body, meditate, making sure you train your mind so that your mind will produce what it is you want to see. The mind is the garden. You said something earlier about the seed. The thoughts are the seeds, the conversation we're having right now. These are seeds that we're sharing with each other. You're going to think about the things that I'm saying. I'm going to think about the things you're saying. It's going to be like, wow, I can relate to that. So, it's very awesome to have these conversations, to sit down and talk to someone, and then allow others to hear us to say, you're not alone. If you're feeling that shift, it's okay. It's a spiritual shift. It's a spiritual shift that you are entitled to. When you realize that you only have time and energy, you have a responsibility to that time and energy. You have a responsibility to make sure that you're operating in a healthy place. So I
Yeah.
just want to, it's like I said, this conversation is awesome because the journey is alone at first, but then you realize, and when you get on that frequency, you start passing people that's on the same frequency. Like Marie, I share my life from a humble to understanding and vulnerable place because I realized that Christ was sent to show us the path we supposed to walk on. We're supposed to live Christ like. He went out in the world. He believed in himself. He knew the energy that was in him, through him, as him. So that's the reason why the show was created to bring like-minded people together to let people know that's afraid because we struggled with it for years before we even tap into
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, that's part of that journey is to live what we live, right? And so many people like that's why I love human design. That's why I study human design. That's why I utilize human design with my clients. It's because it really allows you to see you for you. And my dog, she just hit the little ding on the door. I don't know if you heard it or not, but it was cracking me up. So it allows you to be able to see you for who you are and to release that. It's like, oh, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. Oh, like this, like there's like a chart, a graph that like shows like exactly like why you're acting the way that you're acting, why you're doing what you're doing, what your purpose is here on this planet, what you're meant to be doing. Are you living in that way, right? And if you're not, like, how can you? How can you move in that direction? Some guy behind there. um, and, really be able to look at yourself and say, hey, like, I'm a human being. I've made mistakes. It's okay. Like, my life is the way that it is because up until this point in time, I've been living like this mostly, right? And then to be able to take those blinders off and to say, hey, like, it's okay. It's okay that I am the way that I am. And not only that, how do I become more of who I am? Like, how can I take those layers off and just really be me, right? Like you say, like free to be me. How can I do that? And, we don't grow up in that way. And when we don't grow up in that way, it's not our fault, right? Like, it's not our fault. And at the same time, if we choose to stay there, that's a totally different thing, right? Like if we hear this conversation and then we're not ready to hear it right now, maybe we'll be ready to receive it a little bit later on down the road. Maybe this will plant a seed, right? Maybe this will be the first seed. Maybe it's like the 5th or the 10th seed for you. Maybe it's the 50th seed for you, right? So we get to just look and see where we are. There is no blame where you're at right now, and really be able to look and say, what do I want to do next? What are my next steps? How can I really lean into loving myself? How can I jump into that faith, let go, and let God?
Marie, when I say what you're speaking, it's what I've been through, what I've lived, and what I talk about. And I get told by a lot of people, you're taking people too fast. And what society did, society conditioned people to blame or to be shamed. And so you're actually taking their power away when you're conditioning their mind to blame or shame, because when you know who you are, when you know who I am, you understand you have a responsibility, and it starts with self love. I tell people this is my, I look at it like this. I don't force it on anybody, but self love is God. That's just how I see it. Like, because God said I made you in my own image. If I was made in His own image, then I got to. It starts with me. I can't be looking for God on the outside. I got to look for God in me. I have to look for God within the spirit that's in me. I have to do the things that's godly. I got to do the things to take care of my body. I got to do the things to take care of my mind. I got to do the things that I think, because I can't think one way and not carry it out in my action. And I am a doer, right? I'm a doer. And people say, how do you do it? Because I don't like to be mad at myself. I'm at this place in my life. This conversation you and I are having is because I've been speaking these things. I've been saying, God, I want to be surrounded with like-minded people. So I said, creative transformation. I didn't know what to expect from transferring paper. So I just said, are you willing to talk about life from 100% family on the plate? Like, one of my next projects is I could get up to 10 people on this podcast. I'm looking for people, I want different races, different backgrounds, different age groups, because I've been having this conversation. This is the common topic, the conditioning. We're not talking about the conditioning enough. We're not talking about what the conditioning has done to us, causing us biases,
Yeah.
causing us fears, causing us insecurity, causing us to condemn people, causing us to compare ourselves. That's taking the spirit, the Holy Spirit that's in us, because it's causing a low energy. If
Yeah.
it's not of love, joy, peace, and laughter, it's causing a low energy on this side.
Yeah.
I told my children, I have a daughter, she turned 18. I said, when you go out in the world, go at it with an open mind. Don't go in the world with what I taught you.
Yeah.
You know the basics. Don't kill, steal, or destroy.
Yeah.
But everything else, learn from yourself. Be a person of high integrity. Don't do nothing that'll cause you shame. Because if it causes you shame, don't do it. Because we need to be able to stand in our truth. Standing in our truth. I taught my children, stand in your truth. Don't let nothing cause you to be shamed. Life happens. but don't do nothing intentional that you'll be trying to do. Don't go steal nothing and then somebody find out you steal nothing. You know, if you do something, be able to stand in your truth. Because the reality is the world goes through the same things. And it takes our power away when we are sitting up afraid to express who we are. And that's what the show was created for. So, what, if anything, you could say to the listeners, the tips you could give them, like what helped you to make this shift? What tips, if you could have that conversation with somebody that you wish somebody would have had with you, Marie,
Mhm.
what would it
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think all we can do is share, right? Like all we can do is share our journey because people are going to take that how they take it. We cannot force anybody to change. We cannot say, like, this is your time now. Like, we can try and be motivational and we can say, like, do this, like you can do it. You can, all of the things. And it might work for a little while, but it depends on their self-talk, right? And so really learning how to rewire that self-talk is so important. And whether you learn it from a school, whether you learn it from another person, like, you got to put your feeling behind it. You got to just decide, like, one day, like, I want to do something different for myself, because it's that energy and that emotion and that power behind it that's going to take you in a completely different direction. And to really understand, like, how to do that, that's everything. And so we got to shake loose. There's an Eagles song, old song, and it says, all our lives we live in chains, never knowing we have the key. And it's so true.
be? It
So
is. Mhm.
what is your key, right? What is the key that you are willing to utilize to take yourself out of those chains? That's it. You're the only one keeping you there. You cannot blame anybody else. So, yes, we're not blaming, shaming, guilting you. This is where you're at in your life. Great. And then now you're at a crossroads. You have a choice right now. You get to choose, right? So choose. Make a choice for you, in the name of love for you. What does that look like for you?
You know, it's funny you said that the key word is choice. Knowing or understanding that there's power in our choices. And like you said, on this day, we have to be accountable. And accountability does take a lot of healing. It does take a lot of forgiving self for not knowing and living intentional and living a more conscious life, to understand that the power in your choice determines that self-talk. Like it does. Like, and that's the reason why we have to train our mind. Like Les Brown said, if you don't train your mind, it will betray you. Something else we said earlier, we don't want to die with what's inside of us. Wayne Dyer said, don't die with the music inside of you. And like I said, whatever's inside is going to come out. So it starts with working on the inside. It starts with healing. It starts with forgiving. It starts with loving self. And I know people say, what does self love look like? Self love is acknowledging your truth and allowing your truth to change you.
Mm-hmm.
Because what we struggle with is that physical man that was created, that was conditioned, that physical man that was conditioned based on our social norm, our cultural norm, the conditioning, what we were born into, and then that spiritual man, and it's a war that we face that nobody talk about. Like they call it God and the devil, but it's actually that physical man and that spiritual man. Because that physical man is what you put in me that had nothing to do with me, because I was born in the world as an innocent child. And I speak about this from a humble, transparent, and vulnerable place. But there are some things that I put into my older 30-year-old and 28-year-old that I pray to God every day, God, I wish I could change it. But I didn't know better, right? I
Yeah.
didn't know better being a mom at 15 years old, being a mom at 17 years old, being a high school dropout, taking them along the way as I was trying to figure myself out. I didn't even know who I was. They saw my irritation, they saw my frustration, they saw my aggravation, they saw my fear, they saw my doubt, they saw my insecurity. Guess what? Those are seeds that's planted into a person that ends up becoming self-talk, right? It becomes self-talk, and then we're dealing with this as a society, and nobody's talking about what we as parents instill in our children, and then nobody talk about what was instilled in us. So now we're dealing with the physical man of what was created, and nobody's saying that you know what, you can die to the physical man and be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, and that way you're reprogramming your mind, just like we take the phone. The phone comes with the basic app, the phone, the clock, the messages, but everything else that we put on the phone is what we program the phone to do. And nobody's explaining to us that that happened to us too, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now we're operating from this place. We're operating from this place that forms our biases, that forms our perspectives on life. It forms all the things that we are critical of, or we judge instead of going out in the world with an open mind. Like our minds should be wiped clean at 18. Like wipe my mind, wipe my mind clean
Yeah.
and let me go out and find for myself. And that's what I want people to know. You can press control out of these. You have a right.
Yeah.
Because I even tell my children, go out in the world to create the life you want. You are a creator. I didn't know with my 30-year-old and my 28-year-old, and I'm so open about it because I don't feel like enough parents are, and their children be doing things, and you like, I don't know why my child like that. I know why my child is like. I have issues in my life, and that's the reason why I speak on them so openly and talk about this thing because I have an older son that he's dealing with a lot of things because I had him at 15 years old and I was screwed up and I screwed him up. And I'm talking about this because now that I know what's happening, the behavior he's exhibiting is impacting my grandchildren. And so now I have to protect my grandchildren from my son because I refuse to allow them to get screwed up because, like I told him, didn't nobody talk to me.
Yeah.
He's very successful on a standpoint of what society sees, and that's from a money standpoint, but mental, self-talk, understanding what's important. And so I'm very passionate about this show and to hear other people talk about life and to realize we all go through the same thing. This is something that I'm identifying across the board that
Yeah.
we are struggling with in the society. And again, I may reach out to you because I am going to form. She said I could get up to 10 people, and I'm looking for different nationalities, different backgrounds, because this is a common thing we are experiencing.
Yeah.
We are experiencing.
We're all human, right? Like we all go through the things, and you know, this lifetime we're going through this. Next lifetime, what are we going to go through? Like all of those things. And science shows that, like, genetically, like in our lineage, as we are going through things, our genes express in that way. And so, like, if our great grandfather went through something and scarcity and, like, low self-esteem, like, different things like that, that's going to express in generations down and up.
Mhm.
So literally being able to release all of that, because we can also change our genes. Science is also proving
Yes.
that too. And so if we change our genes now, and we send that energy out, and we help our kids do the same thing. That's why I'm so passionate about working with moms, because, like, truly, like, we are the
Mhm.
ones that change families. So being able to, know who you are, stand in your power, love yourself, be that role model for your children, have the courage to do that, we will change society like forever. So like that's what I'm passionate about. That is what I feel like I know based on human design, I know that based on astrology, like this is what it looks like for me. This is what I'm meant to be doing. I'm passionate about it. It's proven. Like it just helps me drive even more in that direction and be like a force for that. Like I know working with kids, I'm great with working with kids. And at the same time, I know it starts with the parent. It starts with the parent. And so if we can get our generation to start loving themselves, it's just that's gonna change our genetic expression into the future. Like literally scientifically switching off scarcity genes, switching off fear genes, switching off, all those things that keep us in those low vibration, and switch on that high vibration that we're meant to be. God's a creator. He created us. So we are creators too, right? We're creators.
We were made in his image. So look, I will close it out with that because for all of you all that know what Bougiewild talks about, especially this month we've been talking about self-love. To have Marie to confirm that, to have Marie to express the importance of changing the frequency, the importance of us loving ourselves so that we can change the vibration of what we are handing down in our family. I just want to thank you, Marie. I want to thank you because I've been out here talking this and I felt so alone. So just to hear somebody else on that same frequency, I'm going to send you my information. I would like to stay in touch. It's nothing like having that person that you can come together with and speak those positive affirmations on your life. And I would like to stay in touch with you. So again, thank you so much for being a guest on Transparent Table Talk. Make sure you follow Bougie Wow because it is a registered trademark. We are building a platform where people are free to express themselves, where they understand it's all about becoming the best version of themselves and not allowing yourself to be put in a box, but being free to be who you are. I am your host, Bougie Wow. Thank you so much. Make sure you all tune in Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time for Transparent Table Talk. And this is your host, Bougie Wow, and I'm out.